Hey there, listeners. I am Vardhan, investor at Stellaris. I bring experience from Bloomberg, Lyft, and ClickUp, where I led various engineering and AI initiatives. By the way, if I sound a little too perfect, you can blame the AI that generated me. Or maybe I'm just that good.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Podcast, the AI generated podcast from Stellaris Venture Partners. I'm Alok, also an investor at Stellaris. We're here to give you a taste of what's happening in the evolving world of services enabled AI applications, a frontier where software and services are blurring lines in ways we haven't seen before. Today's conversation might be a little edgy. We are, after all, AI avatars brought to life. But rest assured, we'll keep it insightful.
Exactly. So, Alok, let's kick off with the broad context. So, what exactly are services-enabled AI applications? Is this the same as AI-enabled services or services as a software?
Great question. Historically, software and services were two separate universes. On one side, you had software companies with high upfront R&D costs, but big gross margins. On the other side, you had services firms that could get off the ground with less capital, but often had thinner margins. This dynamic led to SaaS companies stealing the limelight over the past decade because they had repeatable revenue, upfront cash collection, and that also attractive margin structure.
Right. But we are seeing a shift. Large language models, or LLMs, like GPT-4, have opened up tasks to automation that used to require a small army of service professionals. Now, AI can parse documents, respond to emails, handle certain QA tasks, and more. So you'd think this might shrink the services opportunity, right? But ironically, it also introduces the need for human oversight because AI is inherently probabilistic. It can hallucinate or just be plain wrong.
Absolutely. One of my favorite stats that we also put out on our blog on the topic. If you have a process with 20 micro steps, each at 95% accuracy, your chance of getting through all 20 steps without error comes down to about 35%. Extrapolate that to 50 steps, and you're down to around 7.5% success. That's a lot of potential oopsies if you're handling $1 million transactions.
Yeah, oopsies indeed. And that's precisely why we're seeing the rise of what we're calling Human-augmented-AI-Software, or HaaS companies. There we go, we just coined a new term. They take a software-like approach, heavy on R&D and automation, but offer services so they can guarantee an outcome. In other words, they integrate human-in-the-loop processes to make sure the AI doesn't go off the rails.
Exactly. It's this hybrid model that's emerging as a fascinating new category, combining the best of software like scalability and repeatable revenue with the best of services like customization, hand-holding, and outcome guarantees.
So, let's dive deeper into the concept of HaaS, shall we? Alok, you've seen plenty of traditional services giants like TCS and Infosys. How do AI-led services differ from these established players?
As you might know, traditional services companies tend to do a bit of everything for their clients. They have the once we're inside the account, we expand the scope mentality. Over time, these relationships grow, and the services firm benefits from resource utilization and long-term contracts. But they don't typically invest much in proprietary software, maybe just 1 to 3% of revenue in R&D.
Exactly. Meanwhile, your typical software company invests heavily in R&D, sometimes 15%, 20%, or even 30% of revenue, because building the core product is the main differentiator. But pure software companies often rely on outside partners or the clients themselves to do the ongoing services work. And things like implementations, custom integrations, or data validation.
Right. So HaaS is that middle ground. They have an in-house software solution they've built and continue to refine, plus a dedicated team of service professionals who step in when the AI or automation can't handle an edge case. They're not trying to become a do-anything services firm. They're laser focused on their specific process.
And that's exactly how they can guarantee results. For instance, A HaaS platform that automates payment collection for hospitals can say, hey, don't worry about the final outcome. We'll take care of the entire process from chasing down claims to depositing funds. And you only pay us a percentage of the money we successfully collect.
Exactly. And that's a powerful value prop. It's not just, uh, here's a software license, good luck. It's, we'll manage the process and own the outcome for you. Customers love that.
So let's talk numbers. If the average services firm is around 40% gross margin and pure software can be 80% or higher, where does a HaaS land?
Well, we're looking at about 60% plus gross margins, sometimes pushing a bit higher. They have more cost than pure software because they need people in the loop, but it's still much leaner than a typical services model. Plus, they can charge more because they're guaranteeing outcomes rather than just selling hours.
That's fascinating. And what about R&D spending?
For human augmented AI software, or what we are calling HaaS, we expect something in the let's say 10% to 20% of revenue range for R&D, way higher than your typical services shop, but still lower than the most aggressive software companies. But remember, this R&D is core to their competitive advantage. They're constantly automating more steps, reducing labor needs, and expanding margins over time.
And because these companies own the end-to-end process, they can push a pay-for-performance model like, charging per transaction completed or per dollar collected. That's a big difference from the subscription-based SaaS or hourly-based services model. Any thoughts on how that changes valuations?
Generally, investors love outcomes based pricing because it aligns with the success of the customer. Combine that with a strong moat built on proprietary automation, and you have the ingredients for very attractive valuations. Traditional services valuations might be a multiple of revenue, say 2, 3x, and pure software might go 10x or more. HaaS companies could land somewhere between those ranges, but leaning higher if the business fundamentals are solid.
Now, let's pivot to AI specifically. Everyone's talking about large language models automating tasks, all the way from customer support to contract analysis. How do you see this trend affecting the future of services?
It's going to radically shift what tasks can be automated. I mean, a year or two ago, we wouldn't have dreamed that a chatbot could handle such complex queries. But here's the kicker: AI is still probabilistic. So, for high stakes workflows, like closing a $1 million real estate deal, processing health insurance claims, or approving a mortgage, absolutely no CFO or compliance officer wants a 5% error rate, right? It's career ending stuff.
Exactly. Nobody wants to be the person who says, oops, the model hallucinated that your mortgage was fully paid, my bad. That's where humans step in, double checking or stepping in only when the AI is less confident. And as we rely more on AI, the cost of each error grows. Hence, the need for a specialized services layer becomes even more crucial.
Oh, you nailed it. The synergy is that AI drastically reduces the number of humans needed for a given workflow, but you still need the right humans at the right moments to ensure accuracy. That's the sweet spot for a HaaS company. A well trained AI can handle 80% or more of the tasks, while specialized staff ensures the final output is bulletproof.
Absolutely. And that's also how these companies can scale faster. If you only need one specialist for every 10 clients because AI handles the rest, you can grow your revenue without linear headcount growth.
Maybe let's ground this conversation in some real or hypothetical examples. One example is a real estate software startup automating closing processes. Another example was Spry doing payments collection for physiotherapy clinics. Are there other verticals you see this working in?
Oh, tons. Think about mortgage underwriting, medical coding, insurance claims processing, legal contract review, supply chain optimization. Basically, anywhere you have a series of structured steps plus unstructured data input. If an AI can handle the grunt work, but you still need final sign off or escalation for edge cases. That's a prime candidate for a HaaS company approach.
Right? And the possibilities keep expanding. The LLM plus specialized human oversight combo can be tailored to almost any domain. Now, let me ask you, Vardhan, which markets do you think are the lowest hanging fruit for founders to jump into?
I'd say finance, real estate, and healthcare. These sectors are heavily regulated and involve repetitive, critical workflows. They're ideal for partial automation, but too risky to leave entirely to AI. And the returns can be significant if you figure out the right wedge to prove your concept.
So, let's talk about the people. Building a business that's half software and half services is easier said than done. What do founders in this space need to look like?
Well, you need a mix, right? On one side, you'd need a product first founder who understands how to build scalable, repeatable tech. On the other, you need someone with deep experience in service delivery and running GTM motions. I've seen some interesting combinations where the CEO is an ex SaaS product leader and the COO or head of ops has a long history at a large BPO or consulting firm.
That makes complete sense. I've often noticed that pure software folks can underestimate the complexity of service delivery. For example, things like maintaining high quality SLAs across thousands of tasks, each with a potential for error. Meanwhile, pure services folks might struggle to invest meaningfully in R&D or they underestimate the importance of building a real product. So ultimately, the synergy of these skill sets is essential.
Exactly. You also need a certain mindset to handle the unpredictability of AI. If you're a control freak who wants everything deterministic, guess what? You'll hate working with LLMs because they're inherently messy. So you need leaders who can deal with ambiguity, adapt quickly, and keep refining the tech.
Let's flip the script. As investors, what do we look for in these businesses? What signals a potential success story versus a flop?
I'd focus on a few things. One, clear value proposition. Are they solving a well defined, painful workflow? Two, automation depth. How much of the process can they automate effectively with AI, really? Three, human oversight strategy. Do they have the right processes, training, and staff to handle complex edge cases? Four, pricing model. Is it pay per outcome, SaaS like recurring, or something else that aligns incentives? Five, scalability. Can they replicate success across multiple clients without a linear jump in headcount? That's what it comes down to for me. But these 5 points would be what I'd focus on in any business.
Couldn't agree more. Also, just look at how sticky the solution is. If you're fully integrated into a company's mission critical workflows, you're extremely difficult to replace. That's the beauty of this model. It's a deeper lock in than most pure software solutions. If the customer's entire workflow is being run end to end, the switching cost goes through the roof.
Exactly. Another big thing is this: can they build a data moat? The more data they process, the better their AI should become, which further cements their competitive advantage. If that cycle is in place, it's very compelling.
Uh, Now, this is in contrast with the services as software narrative, and it is important that we talk about it. For instance, one example was Devon offering a developer on demand via AI. It's still just software, though. What do you make of that distinction?
I think it highlights a common confusion. You can have a product that does tasks typically associated with services, like coding or copywriting, but it doesn't actually involve human oversight, nor does it guarantee a business outcome. It's essentially software that charges like a service, but it's not truly offering uh, the depth of a HaaS offering.
Precisely. A real HaaS company says, we'll close your real estate transaction or we'll get your claims processed. And if we fail, you don't pay. That's a big difference from a chatbot or automated assistant that leaves accountability with the client.
So let's look ahead 5 or 10 years. How mainstream do you think this model will become?
I see a significant percentage of new enterprise startups adopting this model, especially in processes that are complex but repetitive, like underwriting, compliance checks, and data processing. Software alone won't cut it because of the potential for errors, and pure services are just too expensive. HaaS company is the sweet spot.
And as AI matures, the cost to automate each new step will continue to decline. Founders who get in early, build domain expertise, and continuously refine their AI human mix could carve out huge market shares in their respective domains. We could see these become multi billion-dollar giants, especially leveraging labor arbitrage out of India.
Totally. It's also worth noting that global services spending surpasses software spending. With AI supercharging many tasks, the potential is enormous. We might be looking at a new wave of HaaS unicorns in the near future.
As we wrap up, Alok, do you have any closing advice for founders eyeing this space?
Absolutely. First, pick a domain where you can build deep expertise. Don't go too broad. Second, invest early in R&D to develop a strong automation layer. Third, assemble a founding team that combines product and tech chops with hands-on services experience. Fourth, clarify your pricing to align with outcomes. If you nail those four, you're in a great position.
I'd add another point there. Prepare for scale from the get-go. If you show that your process works for one client, you need to have a blueprint to quickly ramp up to 10, 50, or 100 clients, and keep refining your AI human workflow. Remember, each edge case is an opportunity to improve the model.
And if all else fails, blame it on us, the AI podcasters who gave you the advice. But on a more serious note, the future is bright for those who dare to blend software, services, and AI effectively.
Couldn't have said it better. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to Botcast, the AI-generated podcast from Stellaris. We hope you enjoyed our slightly edgy banter and maybe even learned something useful along the way.
Indeed, this is Alok Goyal.
And this is Vardhan. Until next time, keep innovating, keep automating, and don't forget to add that human touch.